Hey, can you see me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? I hope that you can. I hope that you can. Should be on your YouTube or my YouTube. Pull me up at Toye Johnson-Vincent, motivational speaker, certified life coach. You know who I am, the no sugarcoating coach. That's it. You're a no sugarcoating coach, which means I don't sugarcoat it. You know that, right? Well, what's going on, people? How are you feeling today? How are you doing? What did you do all day long? I just want to know. Let me know. Let me know right now. Tell me what you did. Or what's going on is, first of all, thank you very much for showing up and showing out. And it's a difficult subject, so, a lot of us don't even want to talk about it. We just don't want to talk about it. Even on my podcast show, I don't think I've talked about it in terms of the great resignation, but clearly I have talked about everything else. So if you listen to my podcast show, which is Speak to Me First podcast show, again, Speak to Me First podcast show, and allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm Toye Johnson-Vincent, your no sugarcoating coach, motivational speaker, certified life coach, HR, talent acquisition professional, as well as podcast host for Speak to Me First podcast show. If you have StreamYard, and I may or may not be able to see your comments, but feel free to leave me some comments if you're joining or just joining. Again, I have a huge background in human resources, talent acquisition, if you will, matching that wonderful talent to major corporations. That's right. There's always something when it comes down to HR. There's never a dull moment. And I had been in HR for at least 20 years, probably longer. But of course, then embarked on a speaking career, and that was by choice. So I still, work and dibble and dabble in the HR arena. I try to keep up to date and continue to be relevant, because many of the clients, and if you'd like to become one, they're having issues with their job search, as well as just not knowing what to do and where to go. I mean, it's just getting crazy. So I just want to make sure that you can see. Thanks for joining, subscribe, and share, because that's really important that you get it about this this great resignation. I don't know how often. I'm actually going to be streaming tonight on YouTube, and as well as my podcast show, Speak to Me First podcast show. So again, just make sure that you like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And right now it doesn't say YouTube Toye Johnson-Vincent / and all of that. But there is a button for you to subscribe. And over time, I'm going to be building on this platform, as I had started to do last year with a number of career series. So it's really important that you connect with me on all social media platforms, not just not just YouTube. So, wanted to say, great resignation. What does that mean? What is it all about? I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of like, well, what else is going on? And we talk about something that really, overall, has been a thorn in many people's side especially throughout 2021. And I'm going to start right off tonight to let you know, approximately 4 million people, right? 4 million actually quit their jobs since the spring of roughly around that April 2021. And of course, you know that the Department of Labor comes out with their own statistics, and a lot of these things you can find on the internet. Just Google anything and you'll find it. But realistically, resigning from your job without a plan, is that really the way to go? And many people, when they were resigning, of course, because of the pandemic, didn't want to really be in an office setting with multiple people. Some people were in cube environments in their office space. I mean, if you work in the office, then you know that they may be designed differently, no matter, if you're going to Corporation A versus Corporation B. But of course, the design in general, hey, if nothing else, you're probably going to have to meet your teammates or your peers at the cafeteria. You'll probably be in close contact, whether you're at the water cooler, and you know how it is. Once the meeting is over, everybody goes. It's not really the meeting that's important, and that's intrigue. It's really the meeting after the meeting, where everyone gathers around. So if you've decided, you know what, I'm not even going to come into the workplace because of the pandemic, and the fear and everything. I mean, I'm sure we all felt something at some point, like, oh, I don't really want to go in there. Don't want to be around people, mask or no mask. Some of us still feel that way right now. But, the reality is people just quit for different reasons, or they had to take care of a family member who became ill, or children of school age, and with daycare, everything just became phenomenally expensive. I mean, astronomically and phenomenally, really, because it's like some strange thing that happened, and we all had to deal with it one way or the other. No one was really unscathed by the pandemic because it is global. And as we are emerging from the pandemic, or at least we like to think that we are, and hopefully that we realistically are, you may find yourself, well, I quit my job, I resigned because everything was going on and I just didn't want to go in there. But guess what? Now all of a sudden, they're telling you, hey, come on back. You're like, what? I'm not going back. Yeah. So, a lot of people had to make just those quick decisions that changed the course of their life. And again, if you're just joining me, I'm streaming live right through my podcast show, Speak to Me First podcast show, as well as catch me on the YouTube channel. All you need to do is pull up my name, Toye Johnson-Vincent. You're no sugarcoating coach or motivational speaker, certified life coach, Toye Johnson-Vincent. Make sure you come on in, leave your comments. If you catch this on the replay or recording, again, make sure you subscribe, like, and share to both my YouTube channel as well as my podcast show. And don't forget, folks, give me those 5 stars, okay? Nothing less, 5 stars on all of it, okay? So back to the matter at hand, Great Resignation. I'm sure you probably heard of that term by now. If you haven't, I don't know where you've been, okay? Because 2021 is behind us. At least that's what we want to believe, right? Well, if you're unemployed and you're underemployed by choice, that's one thing. But when we talk about resign, did you resign on your own, or were you forced to resign? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened in 2021, and that now the pick up the pieces is starting to unravel, because we have so long. I mean, it's been like 2 years, and we've dibbled and dabbled into every area of our lives regarding the pandemic, and that just creeped right into the career space, or the entrepreneurial spirit space, or the solopreneur, such as myself. Again, if you don't have a huge team behind you, then perhaps you are considered to be a solopreneur. And from time to time, you may collaborate. So that's the good news. But the reality is, what did the Great Resignation, or I should say, how has the great resignation impacted you, your life, your family? Put them in the comments. And again, don't forget, make sure you head over to that YouTube channel. I'm streaming tonight both on YouTube as well as my podcast show, which can be found on Anchor FM, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast platforms. Make sure you subscribe to Speak to Me First podcast show. Toye Johnson-Vincent, your no sugarcoated coach. Yeah, approximately, I'm looking at these numbers, 23% of employees, approximately 23%, it's out there on the internet, really will seek new jobs in 2022. Goodness gracious. Everybody's seeking a new job. And so you have to imagine the people that have already left the jobs, right? The ones who already resigned. Are you like me wondering, where did everybody go? And where did they run to? And what job do they plan on getting once they left? Where do you think that people went to? Put that in the comments, especially if you are on YouTube. Love to hear from you. I'm telling you, it's amazing. If you didn't like the job you were in, and I mean on a regular basis, right? Just think back, forget about pandemic. What about before, I'm going to say maybe 2019, 2018, right? How did you feel about the job market then? Were you preparing to quit your job early 2020 or not? Just curious. And if you think about it, we need to be more conscious of when we're deciding that we're going to resign. And there's two things. Like when you hear the word quit, which is the way I saw it on the internet, of course, resignation. Okay, you resign. Resign is a more profound and proper word, professional, that we say, assuming the person gave notice. They gave notice to their job, right? So that is where the whole 9 yards comes from. But in terms of resignation, you said, hey, I'm giving them 2 weeks notice. I'm being very professional about this. I'm not just going to walk out the door and leave people hanging, including if you work on or with a team of people. Perhaps you're on a team and then you decide to leave and you say, well, I'm resigning. And oh, by the way, my last day is tomorrow. That can be a little bit strong and hard to take, especially for the team members that you will be leaving behind. Management and all that, directors, leaders, you call whatever you want to call them. They're probably saying this can't be happening because now they have to scramble to find someone to put in your place, right? So again, resigning from your job without a plan is a whole separate thing that I wanted to get into, because most of us believe we don't really need a plan. We don't need a coach such as myself. I'm a certified life coach where I help you navigate both your career and or your life journey and dream. That's what I do. But my point is, maybe you're saying, hey, I'm just going to quit my job because I have money saved in the bank. I'm not giving them a resignation letter because they were awful as employers. So why should I be professional and just, take time out to send them a lovely one paragraph or less letter? I don't even know how long these resignation letters are. I assume it depends if you're a C-suite individual, you're kind of high up there on the food chain, or perhaps you're not. And you're saying, well, I'm going to need them as a reference. So I think the best thing should be, whether I like the employer or not, whether I like the team or not, whether I like the management or not, let me just put my letter into HR and have it on file that you didn't just walk away. Well, when we get off on a tangent, that will always be the professional way to do it. With a letter, it may or may not be required, but give it anyway. They have an HR department, let them file it anyway. And you can say you did it. And plus, you would be looking for references at some point down the line. You may not use them right away, but maybe a couple of years later, you might say, hey, I need this, I need that. or you want to reconnect with that employer. So that's a whole nother area and subject. But I'm going to stick right to the meat and potatoes. What I'm talking about tonight is resigning from your job without a plan, particularly within this pandemic. As we are emerging from it, we still have some hiccups, and we got to get through those hiccups before everything really does smooth out, and that you're even more comfortable in accepting new roles at new companies, and just really upping your game in terms of your career game. So you have to think about, what do you really want to do? You have to know that with all of the people that have resigned, do you think that they had a plan? And I keep asking myself that question and saying, I don't believe everyone that resigned with that great resignation, quote unquote, great resignation of 2021 actually had a plan. I just don't believe everyone did. I believe some people, a small amount, said, hey, I have money in the bank accounts look good and fat, and plump, and wow, I'm good. They can sit and they're just bankroll and they're fine, and they had enough in their, what they would consider life savings that would last them for a good year. That includes paying rent or paying mortgage, paying car notes, paying medical bills. But what people forget is that when you're talking about savings, you have to think about the unforeseen circumstances, because you never know. Maybe you're hospitalized, even if it's for one day. Now you got a $10,000 bill, and you haven't met that beautiful high deductible plan that many of us have. And so now you're still paying a lot out of pocket. So that was my question. Resigning from your job without a plan. I didn't even put a question mark on the screen. I just refused to put the question mark. I'm asking as a question, would you resign from your job without a plan? The great resignation of 2021. Well, some people are still happy. I have to imagine when, you said Happy New Year, and you saw the ball drop from NYC, New York City, my hometown. By the way, currently based out of the greater Atlanta area. Shout out to my New York family and friends. What's happening? And I do represent both Brooklyn and Queens. I claim them both. Mom in Brooklyn, that's where I was raised and raised by. And my dad's family was in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, Hollis. If you know the area, give me a shout out. Yes, I'm telling you. Again, then it's some kind of statistic I saw, or something about approximately 9% have already found a new position. Now, this is interesting. I kind of laughed at that, but not really, because I was thinking, even if they found, I didn't know if that statistic meant that they found something, but they hadn't started the job, the new opportunity, but they found the new opportunity. So, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm just not sure if that indeed was the case. But I got to tell you, the reality is, what happens if you don't find something, and now you're still sitting out there saying, I should have made a better choice. I should have thought this whole process out. That's the deal. That's what it is. So if you haven't thought about it like that, then, you may be going into something else. And hey, folks, I'm so happy to see you again. Just joining. I'm streaming tonight, right on through YouTube. And of course, I'm also on my podcast show. So I just wanted you to know that. And let's see what else. How we're doing here with the streaming. Let me know if you enjoyed my podcast tonight, if you can hear it. Just make sure I know what's happening. All right. So here we go. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. I got to tell you, everybody looks all set on that. This resignation, when we say resign, now I'm a certified life coach, so I just want to put this in perspective. when I'm talking about resigning, a lot of times we do things in our life that we resign from, right? Maybe you just say, I'm just resigning from all of these duties that I am responsible for in my home. Meaning, if you said, oh, guess what? I'm going on strike. I'm not going to wash the dishes for about a week. How do you think that would go in your house if you didn't share with your partners or your spouses or significant others? Some of you have children that are living with you that are actually grown in terms of age, grown adult children. How would that go down in your family if all of a sudden you said, hey, I'm not doing the dishes? What do you think would happen? So with that said, you have to remind yourself that it's not really all about you when you decide to resign. It really isn't. It really is about a number of things, and you have to be mindful of that. Because if you aren't mindful of it, then you're just kind of going with your wheels, spin your wheels. That doesn't help you, right? And the reality is, you have to understand that there's someone that may be depending on you realistically. And so it may be somewhat of a selfish act to just say, well, I'm not giving a notice. And I always tell, the clients or potential clients, if I'm going to work with you and you said, well, I just quit my job and now I just need some coaching on my next job. And I'm going with this route where, listen, when you quit your job, what was your plan? Did you have one? Did you think about the consequences of resigning from your job without a job? Even with all of the frustrations that many of us globally were having and still are because of the global pandemic. But at the end of the day, you still have to take the professional approach. Now, if you say, well, I didn't really care about giving a resignation because you were going into your own business anyway. Your plan in your head, right? Because I always say everything starts with the mindset and works its way down to the heartstrings. And maybe you're thinking, well, I didn't need a plan. My plan was, I know I'm going to go ahead and, sell whatever things that you sell. Perhaps you were going to go and establish a brick and mortar store. You already put money down. You just knew you were going out as an entrepreneur. So it never occurred to you the thought of, oh my goodness, I actually have to give a notice for what? I'm going to have my own business. I won't need their reference. Well, you may or may not. It could be more wrong because, like they say, you don't burn bridges, and you cannot burn bridges. Or put it this way, you really shouldn't. You can do whatever you want to do, but the reality is, when someone says, "Oh, what have you been doing for the last 10 years or 5 years?" "Oh, where did you used to work?" Or all of a sudden, you come upon someone and says, "Oh, you work there? Do you know so and so?" Now you're like, "Oh my, yeah. That's right. I left that job, and that's right. It was a fantastic, major corporation in a major city." Or maybe it was a small town and it was the only corporation in the city, and someone knew of the person that you reported to, and they're still there, but you left without resignation and all that stuff. And your plan was in your head. Again, that's what you were thinking, but maybe you didn't think it all the way out. And now you're conversing with this person and they're like, yeah, I heard about a few people. They said, said that you were leaving and they just left everything on the table and didn't really care about the other employees that they left behind. They didn't give any notice and blah, blah, blah. You know where I'm going with this. The reality is, it could happen to the best of us because you're so frustrated, especially in 2021. That's why when they keep saying, or you keep hearing about the Great Resignation, people were leaving for various reasons, but it was in large part due to the pandemic, and they just did not want to be in the office where they assumed and deemed that it really wasn't as safe health-wise. So, hey, if you can't give me a remote opportunity, I'm out. And I'm sure some people talk to their managers and their bosses and directors, And some of the people on those levels couldn't even, give you the green light to say, hey, okay, I can make that happen, because it may not have been up to them. It was really at the top, meaning the owners of the companies and all of that, operations people, blah, 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 blah. There's always a chain. There's always a chain of command, a chain of command. Things happen behind the scenes, but all you're thinking about as an employee, again, is, hey, I'm going to resign. Well, I'm here to tell you, not to say you obviously you do whatever you want, but you have to think about it from an HR standpoint. Do you need their references? Will you need them in the future? Did you like the people that you worked with, especially if you were in a team environment, and you were responsible for so many different facets as a team member, right? And so you have to think about, well, if I, and I got along and I liked all these people, then why not just give a short, resignation letter? And the typical resignation is anywhere between 1 and 2 weeks, but on average, it was always 2. At least it was back in the day. And my back in the day and your back in the day, maybe 2 different days. So that's the deal. And the reality is, what else is new? What else is new? So you have to really think. I'm just going to give you a couple of ways how to think about this. And when we're hearing all about, well, people leave their jobs every day. Well, now you're saying that was the great resignation in 2021. What's going to happen in 2022? How will it affect you? How will you be affected or impacted, I should say, by people leaving all around you? And then you're sitting there saying, why am I still here? And I'm telling you, I have been in that position before. I'm Toye Johnson-Vincent, the No Sugarcoating Coach. If you're just joining me, I'm streaming tonight through my YouTube channel. And of course, I'll get that recording out to you on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that good stuff. But for now, if you want to head over to the YouTube channel and go ahead and subscribe and like and share, that'll be fantastic. And I'm also, speaking it into existence on my podcast show. So definitely this will be an episode. And by the way, make sure you listen to Speak to Me First podcast show. I can be found on Anchor FM, Spotify, Google Podcasts, so many other platforms, wherever you get your, obviously, wherever you get your podcast from. Okay, so if you've got your iPhone, you just pull out your iPhone or your Android. Doesn't matter to me. They all work. And just pull up Speak to Me First podcast show. Also, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Toye Johnson-Vincent, motivational speaker, certified life coach. You'll find me. I probably have a good 20 some odd videos out there, recordings. And make sure you click that red button that says subscribe. That's what I want you to do. Yeah, so I'm just talking tonight, and thank you. I want to thank my global audience for Speak to Me First podcast show. Globally, I'm currently right now in 12 countries, the U.S. being the largest. And I appreciate all of you, wherever you're listening from. Thank you so much for all of your support since last year. And we're coming up on 1 year of my podcast show. So I want to make sure that, I want to make sure that you tune in and like and share. Well, hello, we have Patel. How's it doing over there? Great, great, great. Come on in, bring some more people, share it out, share it out. Listen, let me know. Are you in a position now that you had to resign? Last year, 2021, and you haven't found anything since? Love to hear your thoughts on that. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share to my podcast show, Speak to Me First podcast show, and my YouTube channel. Make sure you do that and share the broadcast. Listen, it's not easy for people to say they will actually resign. For most, it could be very challenging, whether it's challenging financially or it's challenging I mean, just emotionally, there's an emotional component to all of it, right? Believe me, it's an emotion. There is an emotional component to every single thing that you do regarding your job search, whether you're resigning or not. I gotta tell you, it just is. And make sure, like I said, you want to do things that will work for you, not against you. You don't want something that's going to work against you. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you put yourself in a position where all you needed was a small, or what I call it, a mini plan, MINI, just a mini plan. That's it, And when you get to a point that you just write some things down on paper, I'm old school. Everybody got whatever school, they'll say, oh, I'm old school too. I said, well, guess what? Your school, your old school may be different from my old school, depending. So again, it really is all about what you want to do in your life. So, but what I urge and encourage you to do is, if you're thinking about resigning from a job, especially if you've been on that job for many years, maybe you have some retirement invested in that. You've been putting away with your savings. You've been going into that 401k plan, contributing and all of that stuff, right? And now you say, oh, I'm just fed up with everything about the job, especially since the pandemic. And you just say, I'm going to leave. I don't feel that I need to give them a notice. But, I'm here to tell you that people, just think about who you're leaving behind. And it's 2 weeks. Normally you give a 2 weeks notice. It probably won't drive you bananas for 2 weeks. Come on, right? At least just try. And if you have to, cut it down to like a week and a half. But the point would be resigning versus walking away versus quitting. Because quit has somewhat of a negative connotation to it. When you quit, it's like you didn't just quit your job. Maybe you're quitting emotionally, quitting attachments. Maybe it's through family. Maybe it's quitting friends. Maybe it's quitting family. And then there's the ugly word divorce. Divorcing your friends, divorcing your family, separation. You know how there's usually a separation and then there's a divorce. Oh my goodness. Nobody wants to be in that position. So imagine if you don't leave, or you leave and you didn't tell anybody you were leaving. You just kind of didn't show up that day. You have to imagine the impact that will happen on the corporation side because of your actions. But in the same token, I get it. Resigning, separation, divorcing something, or quitting something, it's personal. Most often it's very personal, because you have to imagine, how did you feel the night before? You said, oh, I know I'm going to go in there. I'm not giving them a resignation. I'm actually going to quit my job tomorrow. And tomorrow's Friday. And by the way, folks, it happens to be tomorrow. But I mean, have you just thought about it and said, I don't care. They don't need a notice from me. They won't even miss me. Somebody on that job, you encourage them. You may have helped them. You may have mentored them or trained them. And they will remember you for how you really made them feel and how you helped them, get along on the job. You may even help them along for promotion. And by the way, I'm talking to not only the, frontline people, I'm talking with team members. I'm talking about management. Doesn't matter, executives included, because you've had executives that have walked away from their corporations. No notice, just said, I'm out. They didn't like the way the company was going. They didn't like the path or journey that the company was embarking on, or they had a disagreement, and they said, nope, I'm out. When you get to a point that you're saying to yourself, I am not going to give a resignation letter right now, and you don't have a career plan or your next job lined up, no planning, just got up one day and said, I'm done, because you just felt like this particular company wasn't getting any better. Management wasn't getting any better. It was becoming more challenging just to show up every day, whether you were working from home or not, because many people are still working remotely. And it's probably going to stay that way for a longer time than you could imagine. Because as people are saying, things will never go back to what we used to know pre-pandemic. It has just varied. It's taken on, it's like it has wings. And so things start to expand. But you can expand your knowledge, you can expand your connections, you can do better, and probably will do much better if that resignation goes in and people have a lot more respect than when you just walk off of the job. I'm telling you, just as a long time HR person that worked with talent acquisition, meaning I interviewed many people over the years. And the first thing people will say is, hey, they come back down to HR and they'll say, you know what? Oh, remember you hired me and it's been 2 years. I'm thinking about it. I just don't know. Do I need to give a notice? If somebody asks me, do you need to give? Well, if there's no company policy saying that you need to give one, but there's a lot of times, depending on your position, you may be in a contracted type of role, or put it this way, your job required you to sign a contract. So what I tell them, depending on their level, I say, look at that contract and see if that is a requirement that you are to give to, give to the company before you just walk out the door. That's what I would say. So the reality is, it's not going to be easy resigning from a job without a plan. I'm going to go right into that before we shut it down tonight. Without a plan. You're asking me, a life coach, a HR professional, HR consultant, motivational speaker. I like to keep you motivated, but I want you to be motivated in a positive way. I don't want you stressed out by saying, oh, well, I think she said I should have given a resignation letter. Now you're thinking about, some of you right now, tomorrow morning, you're thinking about getting up and making a phone call, and you probably won't even go in. Now, if you're really brave and bold and you actually go in knowingly that by 5 o'clock, 6 p.m., whatever it is, I don't want to say quitting time, quote unquote, quitting time, and you have no plan on giving a notice, you're just going to go in there and you're saying, hey, at 5, 6, I'm out. It was your payday. So you showed up. How do you think that's going to go over years to come? It's true. People will, and they can't forget about you over the years. But the reality is, you still want to be remembered for something positive, not something negative. You definitely don't want to do that. You just don't want to. You don't want to be thought of as, why? Why is it so necessary? Why are they upset at me because I didn't give a notice? Because how do you know they're upset at you? Let me just rewind for a second. That's because you are friendly with people on that job. And you decided you're going to leave, and you left after 5 or 6. All of a sudden, you have people texting you from the job. What? Or you texted them, you said, I'm not coming back, da-da-da-da. Or you shared that information with someone, and they just kind of sat there on your team and, kind of, I know that person's leaving, but nobody else does but me. That's got to have some pressure. But the reality is, I'm more focused as a life coach and someone with the HR background, where I help them to navigate both their career and or their life skills journey. We start talking about job. I don't talk about job. I talk about careers. So if you're quitting a job, okay, it was a job for now, it was a survival job, and you feel they didn't really need a notice, well, that may be one, thing that could be considered positive, but the reality is I really encourage people, if you were on that job, even if it was 2-3 days, okay, go ahead and draft something. Really. And even if you left, you go ahead and send them the letter anyway and say, I appreciate all of that, but this was my decision, blah, blah, blah. You're probably going to look for unemployment, right? So the reality is, you know what they say. If you quit, then you can't collect anything. Come on, you know it. So that would be one major reason why it's not encouraged for you to just quit jobs. If you resign, and you resign with good reason, unless you were terminated, fired, or furloughed, something like that, that's a whole different ballgame. I say, get a plan. What do I talk about all of the time? Get on my calendar, 45-minute complimentary coaching call. You need a plan, a career plan. When I say you need, I mean most of us do better when you have a plan. Not everyone. Some people, they're just right on top of everything all of the time. They've been on top of their careers. They seek out coaches and mentors, etc., and they do pretty well. And others really need a more intense, structured type of coaching, feedback, and follow-up, and all of those things. So I can probably help you with that. So the first thing is, you gotta say, hey, it's a 45-minute complimentary coaching call. Make sure you check me out on LinkedIn, the professional website, to inbox me if you are interested in between 30 and 45 minutes at this point. But overall, right now, for one time, 45-minute complimentary coaching call. And if you just want to do a 30-minute, that's up to you. But it is one time only for 45 minutes. And anything after that, it's only 30. Plan. PLAN. Bam. You got to have one. Before you resign from your job, make sure you have a plan in place. And I call them mini plans, MINI. It doesn't have to be maximum. It doesn't have to be a 50 to 100 page plan. Just get something down on paper. Start to outline, what do you want in your next job? What do you want in your next opportunity? How much money do you need to make towards your retirement? If indeed you're, moving from job to job, and you perhaps maybe even middle age, where you're close enough to retirement, but you're not financially ready to retire. And you still have to make a certain amount of money so that you'll have a comfortable life financially. There's so many people in that space, I can't even tell you how many. Some of us who will hear this live or recorded will say, yep, that was me, or that was me 10 years ago. Maybe it's you all over again. 10 years ago was gone. And this is pandemic time, so it's a very different ballgame. It's not like they say, okay, it's a job seeker's market. That's what is being said. But again, you always have to remember what type of job, depending on your level. If you're an executive, you're not going to just take any type of job. You're going to most likely look for another executive level position. They don't even use the word job. They use position as the word. But planning, why does this work? Why is it necessary? Let me answer the question. Because you know that you have somewhere to start your career journey, and you have a goal to finish and complete or exceed the journey. And all while you're doing this, getting things down on paper, the whys, the hows, the when will my next opportunity take place. That's part of planning. And you have to have the plan A, the B, and the C. And the A is kind of like, this is what I'll do right now. B is kind of like, well, I need a few more things in a row, and then I'll get to this point, and I can deal with that type of job. And then C is kind of like, I have had my dream job. Finally, you're in a place and a space that you feel comfortable enough to retire. That's how you feel. So you have to think firmly on keeping up, not, the facade that you have all this money in your pocket, but who cares if you don't have your health? And who cares if you say, well, I'm not working at the job and everything, you're unhappy, emotionally stressed, right? So the bottom line is, but when you have a plan, and again, it's called a mini plan, right? Quote unquote mini, M-I-N-I, mini plan. That's what I help you put in place in terms of your career journey and or your life skills journey. Because as I say, as a coach, is that if there's something going on that's not quite right in your professional life, or vice versa, then there may be something else going on not as great in your home life. And that's where the certified life coaching for life skills come in, because you have a journey. We're all on a journey, but where will your journey take you? Where? You'll know where it will take you. If you don't have a plan, all these people that resign or say they quit, a lot of them did not resign. Resigning meaning they gave a notice. People knew that that was the plan. They incorporated their managers, their directors, right? They were all on board. They knew. They left things on how for the next person to come behind them so that it wouldn't be as chaotic as it could be. A lot of chaos goes on when somebody leaves the job. It's more than just one person. And so when you decide that you're leaving that job, someone has to come behind you and pick up the slack. And right now, you look at it globally. We're tired of standing on long lines, whether it's the pharmacy, the grocery store, because there's lack of workers. We don't know how long this can go on. It can go on for much longer than you can even imagine. So you want to make sure, as I leave you, ending the broadcast, few things. Make sure you sit down, have a long talk with yourself, and get your paper and pen handy. It doesn't have to be elaborate. All you need is, honestly, all you need is something like this. Just all you need, right? That's it. Paper and a pen. Nothing wrong with it. You get something down on paper, start talking it out in your head and write it down. It starts with your mindset. If you have a negative mindset, everything I've said tonight won't matter. I'm thanking all of my guests, anybody that logged on to the YouTube channel who was live, who heard it live, even if you're hearing it recorded. I'm thanking you so much. In all of these countries, 12 countries, including the US, my podcast show, which I'm streaming out to my podcast show. You can hear the audio on that within 24 hours. Make sure you write things down and write when, where, what, and how. First few things I learned in Communications 101. Majored in communications. When, where, what, how, who. And you can put it in any order you want. Who, what, when, where, and how. Those are the 5 components that you want to incorporate in your job search, in your career plan, so that you won't find yourself, if this thing has wings about how long people will be out of work, how hard it is to find or land your dream job, you might take a nightmare job for now. There's no guarantees. But you have a better chance of being successful at your job search, your career empowerment, meaning empower yourself. You have the power to empower yourself and make decisions that is really going to put you on a path of success. Even if you're already on a successful path, you're going to stay there, maintain it. You know how they say, okay, you're doing some things, maybe you're eating right, exercising, doing all that stuff. And then the next thing you know, you say, oh boy, I'm tired of this. I just want my cookies and I want my cake and I want to eat them both at the same time. And then I said, oh, no, that's going to cost me to work out even more, right? So the bottom line is, everything has a consequence. Every reaction, every action has a consequence. So you have to be careful how you react. And don't go with it all about being too emotional. Oh, I'm going in and I'm quitting. Oh, I don't like so-and-so. I don't like so-and-so. They treat me horrible. They treat me like this. They treat me like that. Well, at some point, you have to figure out, is it them or is it you? Especially if you're a serial job hopper or you're just kind of moving around. This right now is not the time to be hopping around. People need to get to know who you are right now so that they want to keep you, and perhaps you build a relationship and a rapport with that particular company so that they will think about bringing you back, right? If indeed they had to lay you off throughout the pandemic, furloughed, not fired, maybe you were furloughed and they just couldn't tell you when you were coming back. A lot of times they can't pay people, but you're still there. So you still are employed, that you're getting paid, but you're just not getting any bonuses and things like that. That can happen as well. So again, you have to be grateful for whatever it is. But I'm just going to tell you, try not to just walk away from anything. Tonight, I was just really talking about resigning from your job without a plan. As of today, you don't want to do that, and you shouldn't want to do that, because there must be some sort of emotional component attached for someone to walk away from their job, really, and basically just say, hey, I'm out. No notice, no anything. Something had to have happened for you to feel that way, really. So again, just make sure that you really think about what your plan is. And again, start with the mini plan. And if you are interested in or think you may need a coaching session, the 45-minute one-time only coaching session. I normally do coaching sessions for complimentary the first time at 30 minutes. But because of everything that had been going on throughout the pandemic, I know people were trying to move and shift and pivot in their lives. And I mean pivot. They were going 360, 180, whatever it is. People just turned around and upside down and they just need help. So with that said, I don't want to leave you out there just hanging, right? So make sure, if you are interested, connect with me on LinkedIn. Just pull my name up, Toye Johnson-Vincent. I'm the No Sugarcoating Coach. And you can also connect with me via Facebook, Instagram, No Sugarcoating Coach on Instagram, or just pull me up by my name, Toye Johnson-Vincent, the No Sugarcoating Coach. Again, YouTube, make sure if you came on here tonight that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd like to get more people involved on my YouTube, and I'd like to do more lives. And I believe 2022, I do plan on achieving that goal. So I just want to say thank you very much to my international audience, my national as well as international audience. Again, I'm in 12 countries right now, including the US being the largest of participants and subscribers, and I appreciate that. And of course, I'm coming up on that 1-year anniversary for my podcast show, Speak to Me First podcast show. Make sure you go out on Anchor FM, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from on your mobile phones. Just pull me up. The No Sugarcoating Coach. Again, it is Speak to Me First podcast show. And if you're interested in listening to more, go back on my YouTube channel when you get off of this live, or you heard something else that I've done tonight, or put it out there on my podcast. Make sure you go to my YouTube channel and you'll see some other previous videos, a lot of career series videos that I did over the past couple of years on different topics, and it was all about careers. So again, even more than that, you still need help with your life skills journey. I am a certified life coach, HR consultant. If you have an event coming up, virtual, especially via Zoom or some other virtual platform, and you need a speaker or a keynote speaker, please make sure that you connect with me on LinkedIn. Inbox me to let me know, and let's see if we can get me on your platform. Keep in mind, I am a speaker for hire. I am a speaker for hire, although I do things without a fee in communities, yes, but essentially I am a speaker for hire, so just keep that in mind. And again, my website is TJV empowers you, the letter U.com. Again, my website is TJV empowers you, the letter U.com. I appreciate you for tuning in tonight. And as I say when I end all of my broadcasts, success is in your future. Bye for now.